So what we're going to do today is set up our document for our skateboard. So as you can see, we have Illustrator open. I'm going to go over into my document in QReview and D2L, which is our learning management system at Columbus State. If you're not from Columbus State and you happen to be watching this. So we're going to look at our specifications for our artwork. And we're designing a skate deck with this project. And so we have an artwork size of 10 by 34 inches tall. So 10 wide, 34 inches tall. That's a lot bigger than what our skate deck is. We have our live and trim area, which is 8 inches by 31 and 3/4, which is the actual size of our skate deck. Before we went online, we were going to print these out on vinyl paper and apply them to actual physical skate decks. So was really important to have these two things. Now students are going to be putting them into a Photoshop mockup. So here are the specifications that we need. And the ones that we want to focus on first are actually this this one right here. That's going to be our artboard or our canvas size in Illustrator. So we're going to come back into Illustrator and go into our width and just type in 10 and our height of 34. And we only need one artboard. You can always add more artboards later, but just for this demo, that's what we need. We don't need to worry about bleed with this project. Normally, remember, and with print design, we're always going to want to work with a bleed, normally a 1/4 or 1/8 inch bleed all the way around. And then depending on the project size, we could go a little bit bigger with that. So that's important to know that we don't need a bleed. We're going to actually create our bleed in Illustrator with this project. So let's go ahead and create that. It's taking a little bit of a minute. I don't have my rulers up right now. So I'm going to hit Command or Control R to get those to pop up. I just like always having my rulers up so I can kind of have a general idea of where I am working within my artboard. I can also double check just by a quick look at the top of the ruler that um, of my size of my artboard and make sure it's correct. Make sure I didn't make any mistakes when I input it into the computer. All right, so now we're going to look at the live area. And I want to go take it a step further. I'm going to create my live area, and then I'm also going to create a more likely bleed, if you will. So I'm going to come back to my specifications, and I'm going to look at the live or the trim area, which is 8 inches by 31 and 3/4. And I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to take my rectangle tool. The keyboard shortcut is M, and I'm going to select that, and I'm going to click once on my artboard. That's all I'm going to do. It's going to bring up the sizes here, and I know that my width is 8 and my height is 31.75. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring that in, and that's going to create a rectangle. Now, one of the things I didn't do, and I either have not worked in Illustrator for a minute, or I just haven't set it to the default, is this box actually has a stroke of black, and I don't really necessarily want that right now. I might actually want it to be, if I go into my swatches, I'm going to go in and make it magenta, and I'm going to go to my stroke, which is down here, and I'm actually going to go ahead and just make that maybe like a 1/2 point. So I'm going to come in here, and so now you can kind of see if we zoom to get your magnification tool, that's the letter Z on your keyboard. I'm just going to zoom in here. I have it set up to do a marquee zoom. Yours may be animated zoom. So I've zoomed in, you can see the line there. I'm going to hold down Option, and that's going to zoom out. You can also hit Command or Control plus or minus to zoom in. And if you get to a point where you're like really zoomed in and you just want to get back to your starting point, you can hit Command or Control 0. Control is on the PC, Command is on a Mac, and I'm working on a Mac today. So what I want to do is I want to take this rectangle, I want to select it, and I want to go and I want to open up my Align panel, which I already have right here. But if you don't have it on the right-hand side here, you're going to go up to Window, and you're going to come down, and all our panels, all our windows are in alphabetical order. So we're just going to go down and find Align, grab that, and we have this. Now, Align is along the top, Distribute is on the bottom, and then the ones I use the most are Distribute Spacing and then Align Objects. But what I want to do is I want to change right here, and if I go in and zoom in right here, you can actually see the Align to, And I want to come down here and I want to align it to the artboard, which is actually the bottommost one. I want to align to the artboard. I want to select, make sure my object is selected. I want to do horizontal align center, and I want to do vertical align center. So that what this is doing, it's taking this box and it's aligning it smack dab in the center of my artboard. Okay. Now with this selected, and this is for our additional step in this video, is I'm going to go hit Command C or Control C to copy, and I'm just going to have I've copied that element to the clipboard so I can paste it later on. So now what we want to do is we want to emulate the shape of the board. So I'm going to come into these little nodules in the corner. And these little nodules in Creative Cloud, and I don't know when they brought them in, but in the most recent versions of Creative Cloud is how we actually adjust the, the corner radius. What we want to do is you can grab any one of them, and we're going to come in and we're just going to drag this all the way to the center. And what that's going to do is it's going to create that shape of a skate deck. So if we actually take our fill color and change it to, say, green, now you can see that that's the area of the skate deck that's going to actually be a rough estimation of where our artwork is actually going to be. The live area where we want to do. And even if my students are doing social issues. So they've chosen a social issue, they're researching a social issue, and they're going to create this deck um, that kind of communicates that social issue to the general public. Um, and even though we're doing that, you know, some of them are going to do all typography, some of them are going to have some imagery, whatever. It all works, but we have to remember that we don't want anything that we want our audience really to read coming too far off the board. We need to still make sure that that type is legible. And while we're not designing today or tonight, well, just keep that in mind as you're working on that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hit Command or Control F. I'm going to paste that original shape on top. I'll go ahead and change my fill color, and you tell the fill that you're adjusting the fill when it is on top, the solid is on top. If the stroke was on top, we would have the stroke on top, and that's what we would be editing. But we're going to adjust the fill, and we're just going to set that to null. So it's basically invisible. And what I want to do is I actually want to transform my shape, and I'm not quite sure. I know 17, ooh, 8 by, you got to remember to watch the width is here and the height is here. These are our X, Y coordinates. It's where it sits on page. I'm going to go from the center on this, and I kind of want to expand this out maybe by an inch. So 9 by maybe 32.75. Just see how that looks. I have no rhyme or reason for doing this, or no real mathematical method to do this. And maybe that's not quite what I want. So I'm going to go in and transform, and I'm going to go ahead and make this 10 by whatever the original size was, 10 by 34. I think 34 is probably going to be a little too much. So I went up 1 more inch, so I'm just going to go up 1 more inch here too as well. And what I'm doing here is I actually just want to bring this down again, and I could have gone a little less. So I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to do 9 by 32. And this is kind of how the design process should happen, guys. Like I said, there's no set in stone. So I'm going to try this and see if it gives me what I want. And if it doesn't, then we go back to the drawing board a little bit. But we're going to bring this in. And basically what I want to set up here is I want to change this to a light blue. And this is really our traditionally our bleed mark. And you could even have live area bleed. So we definitely want to pull out to here. We don't necessarily need to pull all the way out. And this is just giving us idea of where that curve, where the top and bottom of the board is, where everything else is. I mean, we could get really specific. We could go on and get some measurements and find out where the holes for the trucks go and stuff like that. For this project, we don't need to. The general shape is good enough. What we would do is we'd open up Photoshop and go ahead and put it in there. It's gonna have the holes, and then we come back and adjust the design later. So now if I come back here and I take this fill off of, or just make the fill white, so I have these. May want to make them a little bit thicker. Maybe half a point was a little bit too much. They're a little hard to see. Since these are just guides, that's okay. We can come back up to 1 point. And what I want to do lastly is I want to take this layer 1. I want to click on here and just call it guides. I'm going to select this again and I'm going to take the fill off of both of these to make sure that it's okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this. I'm going to come down here to this plus sign. I'm going to add a layer. I'm going to pull the layer down below. And I'm going to call this my artwork layer. Now, the more comfortable you are working with layers, the more layers that you might have. I generally work within the layer to order stuff. It's just how I learned. I learned Illustrator when there weren't layers. Um, Occasionally, when I'm working on package design, I do the vendor sends us templates that have a lot more layers, and I try to work within what the vendor wants. So now we have our guides and our artwork, and we're ready to design. And always keep that guides layer locked. And like if you set it up with just strokes and no fill, you're good to go. Remember that the pink line is your edge. That's where we would cut it, and that's the live area. And then the blue is your bleed area. So I hope this video has kind of helped show you how to set things up. I also hope the video has helped just in general. Um, and I look forward to hearing feedback both from YouTube and my students that I share it with and make this better. I hope this helps. Good luck. And I really hope everybody's doing well. Stay safe and be good. Thank you so much.